How do we figure out what to put in these videos? Well, you ask us. And one of our recent questions, how do you teach kids table manners? So Vicki, here's the thing. Kids don't come pre-programmed to follow all of your rules, and especially when it comes to something like table manners.
Well, actually, really, any manners are learned. Those aren't kind
Right.
of natural things.
If you don't believe this, just watch your animals a little
Well,
bit.
remember that manners are really more related to our culture,
Yes.
and so than even our needs or our wants or expressions. So,
And it really is a higher level of functioning too,
Right.
because it has a lot of social innuendo that's woven into it. There's a lot of complexity that goes into manners, etiquette,
right.
rules of behavior that affect how we interact with other people. So because the kids don't come by it naturally, how are they going to know unless we teach them?
Yep, we have to explicitly teach table manners.
One of my favorite songs, I had an experience years ago where I got to sing in a choir, and we were singing a song about children. And the recurring theme in the song was, how will they know unless we teach them?
Right.
I love that, and that's exactly what we're talking about. So let's get into table manners specifically. Can we do that?
Yeah. One of the things you're going to want to do is establish an actual mealtime. Now, a lot of people get a little bit of anxiety about the whole mealtime. We're not looking for a beautiful magazine spread for our mealtime.
No, this is not the Pinterest moment.
Now, the idea of a mealtime is it's a chance to come together as a family, whatever your family looks like, and to have time to talk, dialogue, debrief the day, and to learn some things. And so that's the perfect place to begin with table manners.
Now, Vicki, we have had other conversations here on the channel about the importance of mealtime and what that does to your family culture and the ability that you have to connect with your kids. So we're not even talking about that aspect of mealtime. We're simply using that now as an opportunity to practice something.
Right.
Vicki, you taught piano lessons to beginning piano students for a lot of years.
Yes.
And it always blew my mind that somehow this lady is so brilliant, she could tell if those kids hadn't practiced. How do you do that, Vicki?
You know, really, it just goes back to, we think, how are we going to know? And you can tell when someone practices because things become habit, they become easier, they become more natural. And so that's what we're going to do with table manners.
Beautiful. So this is the opportunity that you have to practice, and whatever you practice, you get better at. Notice I'm talking to you, not your kids.
Right.
Now, your kids need to practice too. That's where we're going to establish those meal times. But honestly, this is about training you as a parent to train your kids. Vicki and I just got a new puppy.
We go to
Cute.
obedience school, and really it's more for us how to train our dog than it is for the dog to learn obedience.
And that's exactly what I was thinking about, because as owners of the dog, we're the ones that need to change our behavior. The dog will come into line as we consistently practice the thing that the trainer is teaching us. So as parents, you're on the front lines for this thing. Your example matters. And I'm just going to jump ahead to that because we had scheduled that as a later point. But here, your example is what is going to teach them the most. Sometimes kids can't hear what you're saying because what you're doing is so in their face. Model for them the behaviors that you want to see happen.
And that brings up a great point. You want to get clear about what those behaviors are, because everybody's family, remember we said this isn't kind of an innate thing, and so we have these different expectations culturally or socially. So get really clear on what those manners are that you want to reinforce and teach.
Vicki, you remember that show that we've seen a couple of times with the British Super Nanny?
Yes.
Do you remember that? And a big shout out to the Super Nanny. One of the things that I really love about her presentations is what we were just talking about. She focuses on training the parents. because her intervention is going to be so brief with those kids anyway. What really is going to make the difference is when the parents change their behavior. And she's very outspoken. She calls it like it is. And she tells you when you're out of line.
Right.
If you're indulging your kid or rescuing them or whatever. Super Nanny did an episode about table manners. In fact, you can link to it right up here in this corner of the screen. Go over and take a look at what she was doing. She had some brilliant ideas about the actual practical teaching of table manners and how we can train our kids. One of the points that she made, and it goes right back to what you were saying, Vicki, be clear about what rules are important to you. This may be cultural, it may be family
I think
oriented.
it's even very specific. I'll just share something. This is from my past. I love to sing. And I think it was rather annoying that I would sing all the time. And one of our table manner rules was no singing at the table. And I'm pretty
You had that rule.
I'm pretty sure it was specifically so I would stop singing at the table.
And it's okay for you as a mom or as a dad to totally make up rules. Now, be reasonable, but you can make it up. And no singing at the table, how many American families have that as a rule? Or worldwide?
Ours did, though.
Yours did, and there was a reason for that. The Super Nanny episode gives an example of a way to make this very concrete, very tangible, so that there can be different kinds of conversations about it at the dinner table. And her suggestion was that you make a centerpiece for the table. And again, we're not on Pinterest or Good at Homes and Gardens or whatever. But you make a centerpiece, and in that centerpiece are, in her example, paper flowers that were just fashioned out of construction paper. And on each flower was written one of the rules. So the rule might be, keep both elbows off of the table. All right? If that's one of your rules, that would go on the flower. In your home, Vicki, it would have been no singing at the dinner table. That's on one of the flowers. It could be appropriately use your silverware.
Or swallow before you speak. Things like that. But
right.
One of the beautiful things about having this visual, remember we said we're kind of training the parents. So it's a reminder for the parent of the rules you've decided to focus on, as well as modeling for the children what to be doing.
Right. The thing I love about this kind of an approach, and it could be the flowers, but you could have paper plates set at different places on the table, and each one has a rule written on it. Some physical representation of the rule, because we're going to use those physical representations of the rule in our practice. And if there's someone who doesn't follow that particular rule, so let's just say that we're having dinner and Vicki pops off with a song. She just breaks forth into singing as she has been known to do. Okay, now, if I'm the father and Vicki starts singing, and that's one of our rules, I can simply pull out that little paper flower out of the centerpiece and set it right there in front of Vicki. Or pull that plate off of the table, whatever it is you're using. It might be a bouquet of forks or whatever, okay? And you put that in front of Vicki. Now, Vicki's awareness is called back to the rule.
Right.
We can also use this in a way that we can say, let's pick a rule and see how we're all doing with that for lunch today. And then you just pull a rule out. It might be, play with toys, not food. You know how sometimes you want to play with your...
Yeah.
And you've got your daughter over there playing with her food. We ran into this a couple of times. Our daughter is an artist.
She likes to play with her
Let's
food.
just say food is a legitimate medium for arts. Anyway, what if your rule is play with toys, not food? Then you could pull that out and you could have a little discussion about what that means with the family. So there's a lot of things about having that physical representation.
You know what else I love about this is it gives you a chance to really review your own, because we talked at the very beginning that the example is one of the best ways. That is the way to teach. I know that many families have a no cell phone at the table rule, and we've kind of toyed with that at different times. And then I found myself grabbing the phone to check something. And so it's good reminder for us also. You know, how often have you gone to a restaurant and you'll see a couple on a date and they have spent zero time looking at or talking to each other just on their phones. So we're teaching this etiquette of how
Right.
to behave when in a social situation with another person. And so it might seem a little silly that we are addressing this, but it really is important, and we've kind of lost this civil social connection.
I like the way you put that, Vicki, because it really is about civility.
And also self-regulation. If you pull up that
Right. Good point.
rule and say, how's everybody doing with it, or you say, hand it to them, what parent doesn't wish their child could be better at self-regulating? And so it gives them a chance to do some self-evaluation and regulating of their behavior.
These skills that they're learning at the dinner table will generalize to other areas of their life. And that, I think, is the point that you're
Right.
making there. It will help them with their relationships, with their schoolwork, with getting along in social situations. There's so many reasons to pay attention to this. Hope you found this helpful, and we really want you to have some fun with this too. So we've got a little challenge for you. Take the family out to dinner. Can
After
you do
you've
that?
practiced.
Oh yeah, you might want to practice some of what we talked about. Take them out to dinner and let's see how this goes. Leave some comments down below and let's interact with each other a little bit to see if we can help each other to really get this positive parenting thing down.
Her head was down, face locked onto the phone.